Hello everyone, and welcome to our FAQ Utilities Company Defaults webinar. My name is Derek Young. I am a consultant and trainer here at Calyx, and I'll be walking you through completing the company default information section with Inside a Point. Alright, so we're inside a point, so let me go ahead and describe what the company defaults are. The company default settings allow users to establish the standard company information. This information is automatically filled in across various point screens where it's relevant. The data entered is saved in distinct data folders and can be moved to other folders as needed. Access to the company defaults menu is restricted to users with permissions for secured areas. These permissions for point users are managed through the point administrator. Users of Point Central receive access to the company defaults as part of the security configurations for the data folders. One of the first things that I do like to point out is that the company defaults can be set up differently for each of your data folders. So the company defaults are data folder specific. So do make sure that you're in the correct data folder that you actually want to start working in. Now to get to the company default section, we'll navigate to the utilities option in the menu bar. And from there, we'll scroll down to company defaults. In this area that expands, this is the section where you're going to default all of your company information that will flow into your application. And so we're going to start at the top with the company information section. Now, for your company information, if you are working as a broker, you're going to select the checkbox for broker. If you're working as a lender, you will select the checkbox for lender. Now, right below that, you will have the option to input your company details. A helpful tip for entering the address is to start with the zip code, which will automatically fill in the corresponding city and state for you. You will want to fill in your NMLS ID number, if applicable, and this would be your company's NMLS ID and not your individual. If you're originating in multiple states, be sure that you're putting the state license number out beside each state that you've checked in this section. As you see here, as I select multiple boxes and then I select OK, if I go back into the company information section, only the states that I put a checkbox in and entered the state license number saved. If your state does not have a license number, then you would want to enter in the company's NMLS ID instead in that field. So be mindful not to leave that field blank. All right, so back to utilities, company defaults, and the processing center. The processing center, this serves the same purpose, but provides the option to input a license and address details for a processing center that operates from a location different from your primary site. This is the section where that information would be entered. The details you provide for the processing center will be utilized as the return address on verification forms. If the return address for verification matches the company address, there's no need to input the processing center information. All right, so the next option is going to be company defaults in days per year. For the days per year, this option allows you to define the number of days in a year for the purpose of calculating per diem interest and daily interest fees. You have the flexibility to select from 360 days, 365 days, or input a custom figure. This setting is essential for accurately determining interest calculations related to loans and various financial products. You can also see your days per year on the fees worksheet, and it will default the number of days that you defaulted here in this section. All right, so back under utilities, and up next for our company defaults, we have the ECOA address section. So for the ECOA address, this is going to be your compliance piece. If you're brokering, more than likely you're governed by the CFPB, which is your Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So it is important that you enter the ECOA address for your county and state. This section designates the location of the federal agency responsible for overseeing adherence to the Equal Opportunity Act, or ECOA. This address is automatically filled in on the ECOA submission form inside a point. All right, moving back to utilities, company defaults, and this time the California Fair Lending address. The California Fair Lending address refers to the address listed on the California Fair Lending Notice Disclosure. This is the designated location where borrowers can submit complaints in accordance with the Housing Financial Discrimination Act of 1977. If you are in California, then all 6 of these addresses that I have entered in you will need. So you can fill out all 6, or you do have the option to choose the one address that is closest to your home office and default just that one in this section. You can put in all 6 if you're not sure, but best practice is to confirm with your company which California filing address should be used, and or this information can easily be found on Google. All right, so up next we have company defaults, and this time we're going to go to our denial letter address. The denial letter address feature allows users to indicate the address of the federal agency responsible for overseeing compliance with the Regulation B of the Equal Opportunity Act. When the Notice of Action Taken form is printed, the system automatically fills in this address on the form. Now, the denial letter address will use the exact same address that we entered in for your Equal Credit Opportunity Act. You can enter this address all on one line, or you can split it up as I have in 3 different fields. If you do add the address all in one line, it will display on your form and stretch across the form. So splitting it up into 2 or 3 different lines will make it look nicer on the form. All right, so back to utilities, company defaults, and this time the servicing disclosure info. The servicing disclosure info outlines the standard settings for the servicing disclosure statement. This statement is designed to inform borrowers about the possibility of their loan being sold or transferred to a different servicer. Some of you may not fit in just one category, so you want to read through and make sure that your company doesn't fit in the may assign, sell, or transfer the servicing of your loan while the loan is outstanding. If that one applies to you, you will select that. And it is possible that if you are doing 2 different processes, multiple are required for you to check. So you can, in this section, select multiple or all sections if they apply. All right, so back to utilities, company defaults, and this time marketing and letterhead. The marketing letterhead feature allows you to designate a location of your company logo and determine its placement on forms when generating marketing letters or open house flyers. This functionality allows the automatic inclusion of your logo in multiple forms, including the amortization schedule, cash to close, debt consolidation worksheet, loan comparison, pre-qualification, and rent versus own. So you'll simply browse for your company logo. And once you find that company logo, you do want to be sure that you click the auto fit checkbox here. This is just to be sure that when you add your company logo, it does not become distorted on the actual marketing form when it's generated. And now this will flow into the marketing tab where our 6 marketing forms are located within Point. So let's open up a file and take a look at one so you guys can see how your company logo would populate on the forms. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK and open up a loan file. And then we're going to navigate to the marketing tab, and under the marketing section is where you locate all of our marketing forms. So let's go ahead and preview the pre-qualification form. I'm going to go to print and output option, print preview. And there you go. There's our company logo, nicely auto fitted in the top left hand corner. And if you needed to, you could adjust the sizing if it's not coming out the way you would like it to show on your marketing letter that you're going to be sending out to your borrowers. All right, so I'm going to do a file and close out of here. All right, so we're going to head back to our utilities option in the menu bar, company defaults, and this time we're on the right to receive appraisal. The right to receive appraisal pertains to the borrower's entitlement to obtain a copy of the appraisal report utilized during their loan application process, as mandated by regulations from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. This right is detailed in the loan application, particularly in Section 6, Acknowledgement and Agreement. Now, this is defaulted to 90 days, which is pretty standard. If your line of business operates differently, then you want to be sure that you update this section to the correct amount of days that fits your line of business. All right, so back under company defaults, we're going to head to our FHA Consumer Choice Disclosure. The FHA Consumer Choice Disclosure serves as a document that outlines the standard expenses linked to a conventional mortgage in comparison to those of an FHA insured mortgage. This disclosure is designed to assist borrowers in grasping the financial consequences of opting for an FHA loan instead of a conventional one. When preparing an FHA Consumer Choice Disclosure Notice, be sure to input the relevant information for the comparison. Now, Point has this table defaulted, and these numbers in the table are also old numbers. However, once you update the chart with the correct numbers, they will be saved here and will flow accordingly. So any of you that are processing FHA, You can go online and go to the HUD website. Once you pull up the HUD website, then you will type in FHA Consumer Choice Disclosure Notice, and that table will populate and show the current numbers that should be entered in this table or chart. Now, once you do that update, a good point here is when you update point, this table will default back to the old numbers. So best practice would be, once you've located that FHA Consumer Choice Disclosure table, to save a copy of that disclosure to your desktop. That way, when you update your software in the future, you already have that table ready and saved and easily be able to re-enter the correct numbers back into the system. All right. All right, so back to company defaults, and this time we're going to head to our GFE TIL disclosure. The GFT TIL disclosure combines the good faith estimate, or GFE, and the truth in lending TIL disclosure. This document is essential for borrowers as it outlines critical information regarding the cost and terms associated with their mortgage loan. It promotes transparency and adherence to federal regulations by specifying estimated settlement fees and loan terms, including the annual percentage rate, APR, and financing charges. At the very top, the checkbox labeled "Always print the current date on all disclosures" should be selected only if you do not intend to manually adjust the date on the disclosures. When this box is checked, the current date will automatically print on the disclosures and cannot be modified. There is a preset list of change of circumstance items available, but you also have the option to create your own custom change of circumstance entries. So I'll go ahead and add one in here for a change of appraisal value amount. And as you can see, that's now been added to my list of change of circumstances. Now, to revert the change of circumstance list to its original items, simply click the Reset Defaults button, and it will reset it back to the original defaults. For the TIL consumption date, Point utilizes the estimated close date until one of the specified date fields is filled in. At that point, you can select the desired date field to use, keeping in mind that only one date field can be applied to all loans. All right, so back to our utilities, company defaults, and this time we're headed to our service provider list disclosure. The server provider list disclosure serves to meet the requirements set by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, regarding the disclosure of loan services and associated fees. This disclosure provides borrowers with a written list of service providers available for different services connected to their loans. Now, Point does have a defaulted statement already entered. However, if you uncheck the Use Calyx default, this will allow you to be able to type in your own service provider list disclaimer. But let's say that you start typing and then realize you prefer the Calyx version instead. Then you will just check the Use Calyx default checkbox again, and it will repopulate the Calyx defaulted verbiage back in this section. All right. All right, so we're going to head back up to the utilities and select our company defaults. And this time we're going to select the option for the privacy policy disclosure. The privacy policy disclosure is a crucial document that details the methods your company employs to collect, utilize, and distribute personal information from borrowers. This disclosure is vital for adhering to privacy laws and aids borrowers in comprehending their rights concerning their personal data. The privacy policy disclosure interface is organized into several tabs, with each tab representing a distinct section of the printed form. Starting with the What box section of the privacy policy disclosure, this outlines the categories of personal information that your company gathers and shares. This section is designed to inform borrowers about the data being collected and its intended uses. It lists specific categories of personal information, including social security numbers, income details, account balances, and payment history. Users can choose items from a list of available options to include in the disclosure. These selected items are then transferred to a designated options column, which dictates what will appear on the form. The most common options that are chosen are income, credit history, credit scores, assets, and employment history. All right, so moving over to the next tab, which is the Reasons We Can Share section of the privacy policy. This outlines the various purposes for which your company may disclose a borrower's personal information. This section is designed to inform borrowers about the rationale behind the sharing of their data and whether they have the ability to restrict such sharing. This details the specific justifications for sharing personal information, including routine business operations, marketing initiatives, or collaborative marketing efforts with other financial institutions. It also clarifies if borrowers have the ability to limit the sharing of their information for each specified reason. It also confirms the disclosure adheres to regulatory standards by explicitly outlining the sharing practices. All right, so moving over to the opt-out options section of the privacy policy, this provides borrowers with the ability to restrict the sharing of their personal information. This section outlines the available methods for opting out and the deadlines for doing so. Borrowers can choose to opt out through phone calls, the website, or by mail. It is essential to include the necessary contact information for each method. You also want to clearly state the number of days borrowers have to utilize their opt-out options before their information is shared. Assign a unique identifier, such as a loan number, to be included on the mail-in form. You can also offer the option for joint borrowers to opt out collectively. All right, so moving over to the questions who we are section. This section contains vital contact details and specifies the organization accountable for the notice. This part is intended to provide information about the company, which will be displayed in the questions section and generally encompasses contact information, a phone number, and website where borrowers can reach out with inquiries regarding the privacy policy. Who we are, the name of the company or organization issuing the notice, ensuring that borrowers are aware of who is handling their personal data. Note, it is important to note that if the extended list option is used, this information will be positioned at the end of the disclosure. Conversely, if the extend list option is not selected, the information will be found in the other important info section. All right, so moving over to the next section, which is the what we do section. This section details the categories of personal information that your company gathers and shares with inside the company. This part is designed to inform borrowers about the data being collected and its intended uses. It generally encompasses details such as categories of personal information collected, such as social security number, income, account balances, etc. The purposes for which this information is utilized could be to process the loan application and manage accounts. The rationale behind sharing this information with external parties could be for loan servicing or adherence to legal obligations. The definition section of the privacy policy disclosure serves to clarify important terms associated with your company's information sharing practices. This section generally encompasses definitions for affiliates, which are entities connected through shared ownership or control, which may include both financial and non-financial companies. Also, non-affiliates, which are entities that are not connected through shared ownership or control, which can also be financial or non-financial companies. Joint marketing, a formal arrangement between non-affiliate financial entities that collaborate to promote financial products or services to you. In the other important information section, this section of the disclosure is used to include any additional information that may be relevant to borrowers but doesn't fit into the other predefined sections. This can include details about borrowers' rights under state law or any other general information your company deems important. All right, so let's head back up to utilities and company defaults, and this time we're going to head to the loan application addendum. The loan application addendum serves to include supplementary information that cannot be accommodated within the standard sections of the loan application. This addendum may cover aspects such as multiple co-borrowers, additional properties, or other pertinent details that need to be recorded but surpass the available space on the primary application form. When the settings for the loan application addendum are activated, the Supplemental Consumer Information Form, or SCIF, can be configured to print alongside the loan application. It will be mandatory for new loans sold to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac with application dates on or after the required date. All right, now back in utilities, company defaults, and Freddie Mac LPA system to systems. This section is designated for establishing a direct link to Freddie Mac Loan Product Advisor, or LPA for short, enabling direct communication with LPA systems. So this is where you would enter in all of your Freddie Mac credentials. So inside of a loan file, when you select services, Freddie Mac, you're actually able to run your Freddie Mac and pull those findings back into Point. All right, so let's navigate back up to our company defaults, and this time we're going to go to the Freddie Mac loan assignment. Now, of course, you will need your Freddie Mac credentials entered in first, but the Freddie Mac loan assignment serves as a system-to-system interface that facilitates the transfer of completed loan submissions from the Loan Product Advisor, or LPA, to another company authorized by Freddie Mac. Both the users who are assigning and those receiving the loan submissions are required to possess an LPA account linked to Freddie Mac. All right, so we'll go back to our company defaults, and this time we'll go to our condition types. The condition types are used to manage and organize the various conditions that need to be met for a loan to be approved. The condition types populate the loan condition table on the banker condition screen when the Add Defaults button or Add Conditions from Pick List button is selected. All right, so back to Utilities, Company Defaults, and this time we're going to select the fee type. For the fee type, the fee types serves to classify and oversee the different fees linked to a loan. When the Add Defaults button or the Add Fees from the Pick List button is clicked, the fee types are displayed in the fees table on the banker fees and impound screen. All right, so back up to our company defaults, and this time we're going to click on the impound types. For the impound types, these are classifications of funds allocated for covering property related to cost, including taxes and insurance. These impound types are displayed in the tax and insurance impounds table found on the banker fees and impound screen. All right, so back to company defaults, and this time we're going to click on the escrow account. The escrow account serves to handle funds allocated for expenses associated with property, including taxes and insurance. It is important to note that the initial deposit in the escrow account field reflects the total of fees detailed in the initial deposit for your escrow account section found on your fees worksheet. All right, so again, we'll head back up to our company defaults. And this time we are going to navigate to the Docs and Due In section. The Docs and Due In feature allows users to indicate the number of days remaining until specific documents are due. This functionality aids in monitoring and organizing submission deadlines for documents. Utilize the Doc Due In option to establish the standard time frame in which a document is deemed late after its due date. All right, so back to Utilities, Company Defaults, and this time we're going to head down to our stacking orders. The stacking orders features determine the sequence in which documents are printed from the document management inside of Point. By establishing a stacking order, you can eliminate the need to scroll through the document list to find the necessary forms. This approach also aids in arranging your documents according to the lender's specified requirements when you do save those documents as one PDF to upload to the lender's website. You're able to customize your own stacking order in this section as per the lender would like you to send those documents to them. And you can create multiple different stacking orders for the different lenders that you use within the system. All right, so we'll head back up to our Utilities option, Company Defaults, and this time we'll scroll down to the Automatic Document Storage. For the Automatic Document Storage feature, this enables the automatic saving of documents produced by various Point services, such as closing documents or flood reports, directly into the document storage inside of Point when they arrive. When the Automatic Document Storage option is activated in the Utilities menu, any document requested through one of the Point services will be automatically archived in the document management inside of Point upon receipt. All right, so back to Utilities, Company Defaults, and we'll scroll down to our warehouse lenders. When a lender is chosen from the warehouse lender dropdown, the relevant information will automatically fill in the associated fields in the banker warehouse and purchase advice screen. Back up to our Utilities, Company Defaults, and this time we're going to select the option for investors. Entities that acquire loans from lenders are known as investors. We utilize this section to include comprehensive details about those who buy closed loans. When an investor is chosen on the secondary marketing, underwriting, or banker shipping screens, the investor information will automatically fill in the banker shipping screen, streamlining the data entry process. Back up to our Utilities and Company Defaults, and our last item is going to be the trailing documents. Trailing documents are the additional documents needed following the initial closing of a loan. They play a crucial role in finalizing the loan file and maintaining compliance with regulations. The trailing document feature automatically fills in the necessary documents on the Banker Trailing Documents interface. To create a standard collection of trailing documents for specific loan types, simply click on the Auto Populate button within the trailing document screen. It is important to note that the Auto Populate configurations are set by default for each trailing document. If adjustments are needed, you can modify the settings using the Edit button on the Banker Trailing Document screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact our dedicated customer service at calyxdcs@calyxsoftware.com.